The Nintendo Switch 2 Direct has been live streamed by Nintendo lately.
I've watched it, of course, and wasn't blown away by the end. Yeah, and after a few days of letting it sink in, I'm going to buy the Switch 2 as soon as it's released. But more on that after the intro. Hey everyone! Okay, let's get straight to the point. The Switch 2 is, in a nutshell, simply an upgrade of the regular Switch. The Switch 1 had a great time and Nintendo probably wants to continue supporting it. Because, for example, Tomodachi Life is still scheduled to release in 2026. But Switch 1 games also run on the Switch 2, and even better. Because everything that was, well, okay on the first Switch has been improved on the new console. Because when the console is docked, it can output either 4K or 1080p at 120 frames per second. The dock also has its own fan, although this is long overdue, just like the LAN port on it. Yes, those are the new features for the dock. My problem with the Switch is that even though it's nice to use it as a handheld, you only ever watch 720p content on it. Yes, and over the past few years, I've mostly used my Switch in the dock for exactly that reason, so I can at least watch the full HD content. But also because my Switch battery is slowly dying and needs replacing. Yes, but unfortunately the new Switch also has a built-in battery, but I think I'll have fun using the console's handheld mode again. Because it's still just an LCD display, but one that, according to Nintendo, is supposed to be more color intensive and supports HDR10. And not only that, the 7.9-inch screen not only supports VRR up to 120 frames per second, but there's also finally a 1080p screen for handheld mode. OLED would have been even better, but then I think the price will be still higher. Because the Switch prices are not the issue. I only have here some European prices, but here in Europe the console will cost 470 euros, according to Nintendo. That means there's finally an MSRP for the console here again. Since the Wii, there's always been a free price for the European market that retailers can calculate. Yes, but 470 euros is still a lot of money for the console. Considering that the Switch 1 initially cost around 330 euros here and the PlayStation 5 is at 500 euros, it isn't that far off. Yes, and gamers will have to dig even deeper into their pockets for the Switch 2 games. It's a shame that Nintendo says digital games are 10 euros cheaper than the physical ones. And even the physical games are 90 euros. And even then, you have to be careful, because there will also be software cards that only contain the key for downloading and have to be inserted every time I play the digital game. I don't know if Nintendo is doing itself a favor with these prices, and also with the software key cards where the games still have to be downloaded completely despite the cartridge. But at least, hopefully, the storage issue shouldn't be a problem. The Switch 2 has 256 GB of internal UFS storage, which is not only faster, but can also store 8 times more than the first Switch. You can, of course, also expand this with microSD express cards. No, not regular microSD cards, they have to be the express cards. There are already a few ones on the market that cost a lot. But I think it's good of Nintendo to specifically label these cards as compatible. Yes, because the cards need more bandwidth to transfer the data even faster. And then simply saying that you need a microSD express card for the Switch 2 is much better than looking for an M.2 SSD for the PlayStation 5. No, wait a minute. What do you need for a PS5 SSD? A PCI Express Gen 4x4, a heatsink, 5500 megabits per second read speed, a maximum length of 110 millimeters?
Huh?
I'm a little bit scared expanding my PlayStation 5 storage here. And how I'm going to transition from storage to games? Oh yeah, the games will also require more storage space. Because a few games were announced in the Direct, not only from Nintendo itself, but also from many AAA developers. we're getting Elden Ring, Hogwarts Legacy, Tony Hawk 3+4, a new James Bond 007 game, Cyberpunk 2077? What the hell, Nintendo? For many, there are some titles that you'd only expect to see on the other major consoles, but not for a Nintendo console. But Nintendo, of course, has its own long-awaited titles. After 10 years of Mario Kart 8, we are finally getting a new installment called Mario Kart World, which looks promising and will require its own direct later. Or after several years, another Kirby Air Riders installment. Or a new 3D Donkey Kong game has also been long awaited. And a new Zelda installment has been announced. Yeah, okay, not exactly, but a new Hyrule Warriors installment has been announced, which is supposed to tell the story before Tears of the Kingdom. Oh, I'm really excited about this game then. And all Switch 1 games will also be available as Switch 2 editions, as will be the case with Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which will be able to use the Switch 2's more powerful hardware to enable 4K. Or the DLC content could also be included in it. Oh, and on top of that, Nintendo has finally built native voice chat into the console, where you can either simply chat with each other, stream game content to others, or you can integrate yourself into the chat with the separately available camera, or even do interactive things with the camera on compatible games. There's only one question left. What to do with the Switch 1? I think Nintendo will handle this the same way Sony did with the PlayStation 4, that there will be more games coming out in a few years, or that 2 editions will be available. But that remains to be seen. We'll also have to wait until we finally have the consoles here at home. The release is set for June 5th, 2025, which is a Thursday. That's weird because the Switch 2 will be released with Mario Kart World, and Nintendo traditionally releases their games on Friday. Well, there must be a reason. But there's also a reason to subscribe to me, so you don't miss out anything here. Well, I'll see if I can keep you updated on Switch 2 here. And otherwise, I say, we see us later.